Hello and welcome back to the Bright Light Wellness YouTube channel and the Healing with Homeopathy Substack. Today I want to share a writing that I did. I got another download and I wrote something and I wanted to share it with you guys. This one is called I Am a Tree, and this was after I saw a practitioner and she was telling me about how she kept seeing all these remedies that were related to trees. And then my mind was going on my morning walk at sunrise, and I was thinking about how I am like a tree. So I want to share it with you, and then I'll share some of the remedies I'm taking and, why they resonate with me and my being, and teach you a little bit about flower essences along uh, this one today. So let's just hear I'm going to share with you first the writing that I did about how I'm a tree and how I relate to trees. So this one's called I Am a Tree. I am a tree, strong, stable, connected, rooted. The wind may blow, the rain and storms may come, the branches may snap, but still I stand. Because I am a tree, I do not fall, I do not waver. I remain consistent, grounded, present, rooted deep enough to weather any season. I am a tree. My roots run deep into the heart of Mother Earth. I feel her. I am held by her, and I am connected to every layer of soil, memory, and time. I am a tree. I hold space for others, a refuge. I offer refuge, shelter, and steadiness as they walk through their own storms. My branches stretch wide enough for all those who need me. I am a tree. I do not bend or break easily. I rise again and again, each spring blooming a little wiser, each winter shedding what no longer serves me. Every year I grow taller, more lined, and more rooted. I am a tree, patient, observant, still. My father always said, the tree waits. And so do I, watching, listening, learning, and becoming. I am a tree, no matter the scars, the breaks, the carvings left by life or by love or by loss. I remain upright. My presence is my strength. My branches dance in the wind, but my roots never lift. I stay connected, stable, and sovereign. And now I understand why, because my healing is guided by medicines of trees. So these are some of the remedies that I'm taking. Walnut, helping me break old patterns, setting boundaries, moving forward without absorbing what isn't mine. Oak, the strong one. Elm, the oversensitive one. Pine, the self-blaming one. And willow, the wounded, resented one. And red chestnut, the one who cares too much. All supporting a woman who has carried so much, held so much, supported so much, and is now returning to herself. And this season of my life is about releasing the old layers so the authentic ones can root, strengthening my boundaries while softening my burdens, letting the trees hold me in the way that I have held everyone else. I am a tree and I am becoming more of myself every season. So I just wanted to share that with you. I wrote that after taking a walk and thinking about how I related to trees. I had all these ideas in my mind, and I came back and I sat down and I wrote this down. And it really resonates with me. And I'll share a little bit more about those remedies in a minute. But um, I am always the strong, stable one, right? I'm the one that's strong in my family and stable in my family. And as the teacher, I was strong. And as the child, I'm always the strong, stable person, right? That people could come to when they needed help. And nothing really breaks me. Like I really like storms come, things come. I stay rooted and strong and stable. Like I don't falter. And I think that's when I had my health crash. I was just like, wow, where did that come from? Because I'm not used to that. I'm used to being the strong, stable one. Um, I usually am very consistent in everything that I do, very consistent, very grounded, very present, I'm very deep rooted in places where I am. I don't, my roots run very deep, not only in my connection with nature, but just in general. Um, Certainly very connected to nature now, even more than I've ever been. Um, I definitely have always been a space holder for others, people who need support and refuge and shelter and, weathering their own storms. I am there for them. That's what I'm doing. That's what I've always probably been doing. Um, I just don't break easily. I rise and again. That feels so resonant for me. And, I do feel like every year winter is the time for when we, all the leaves fall and then we build anew, right? We become a new person so that we're this new person every spring. So each year I'm a little bit more aligned, a little bit more rooted, a little bit taller, a little bit more me than I've ever been. And my father would always say, patience is like a tree, to be like the tree, be patient like the tree. And, that may be something that I was still learning, but because patience is kind of hard for me sometimes. And that's not a tree, that's a flower essence. Um, and yeah, no matter the scars or whatever has come my way, I still remain strong. Nothing, it takes a lot to bring me down, and that's how I feel like the tree. Even though winds may come, storms may come, I still stay rooted and connected and stable, and it makes a lot of sense. So, one of the flower essence blend that I'm currently taking is a tree blend. So all of the remedies are trees, except for the red chestnut, which is, comes from a tree, but it's it's a chestnut comes from a tree, but it's all tree remedies. So the one I'm taking, flower essence, is called oak, and that's the very strong one. This is the one who just is always strong and stable and just keeps going no matter what. Like it remains tall and strong, and it's just always there. I'm just want to look at my repertoire for a second and just see if I can give you any more information on oak, because sometimes it's hard to remember exactly all the things, but there's just very strong people who are always supporting others. Um, but that can, eventually be a downfall, right, in a person because they are not, and now again, I can't find it. Hmm, maybe it's not, maybe oak is not in here, actually. No, I don't think it is. Sorry, oak is not in this book, but they're the very strong one. They're the one that's always supporting others. They stay very strong and they don't falter, but it can become imbalanced, right? And then elm is the one who's like very overwhelmed, right? They get very easily overwhelmed. Pine is the one for like guilt and self-blame. And it was interesting when I was learning more about pine, I was like, I love trees, but I happen to really love the smell of pine trees. Like I'm always really drawn to it. And there's a healing potential there for the person who has like the self-blame and the guilt, right? And then willow trees happen to be my favorite trees. And willow is for the wounded, actually, the one who's like silently holding resentment and needs help in softening that and releasing that. And red chestnut is for the one who is over caring, cares too much, worries about others too much. So that's the blend that I'm taking, and it's very cool because they're supporting me very nicely. I'm definitely feeling shifts. It's just driving me nuts that oak is not in here because I know it probably is, and maybe I'm just missing it because I wanted to say more about it, but I can't find it. Let me see. Oh, here it is. I found it. So, Oak is the Mars-like hero. Mars is the is the calc sulf, right? Is the Scorpio, Mars, calc sulf. So the Mars hero, they have endurance and strength and perseverance. Illness and dysfunction when they're not balanced with Venus, the grace and the gentle surrender, right? They're just kind of like stuck in the Mars energy versus the Venus energy, which flower essence is, I think the author's just kind of talking about astrology as well, which is very cool. But they press the limits of life and endurance, right? They're capable of enormous willpower. I have amazing willpower. um, Strength that becomes too rigid sometimes, unrelenting, demands expectations they have for themselves. Like so they have high expectations and demands on themselves. Um, and oak helps you surrender and accept limitations and balance with the inner feminine, which learns to yield and receive from others. So, yeah, oak for me makes a lot of sense, and I'm definitely feeling that softening a little bit from taking it. I've only been taking it for a little while, but I did want to share that, and I'll do an update on it. But the other one I'm taking is elm, and elm Elm is the type of person who can be overwhelmed by responsibility. So here I am, this like strong, stable one, right, who's pushing the limits, but I also can feel overwhelmed by doing too much. So overwhelmed by responsibilities, is their kind of theme of Elm. And they can be over perfectionistic, set unrealistic goals, can result in fatigue or just simply like not able to measure up. There can be self-doubt. There can be, must face overwhelming tasks solely to rely on the ego. The ego was what's forcing that to happen. So this remedy or Elm helps people receive help from others, um, and from the spiritual world, and balances their natural leadership capabilities with the soul, especially integrating these with true into their true higher self. So that's a really nice one. And then Pine, I'll share a little bit more about Pine. This is a great book. I'll share this book in a minute. Um, Pine is really good, like I said, for like the self-blaming ones. So they have feelings of regret, self-blame, remorse, internalizes blames for dysfunction in the family system. Um, and that's been a tough one for me because of the fact that I got sick and my family did kind of fall apart. And I've talked about this with my journey with carcinosin, and carcinosin's helped. And I'm probably going to go back to carcinosin eventually, because it's that spiral of healing again, right? I'm going to need it again. But we'll see what the flower essence pine does. But there is that blaming myself for the family dysfunction, or this feeling like I have to hold it all together, like I am the glue of the family, right? And when things are good, I don't have that stress come up, but when they're not as great as I want them to be, then that stress does come up for me. So this helps to learn true forgiveness, quite literally for to be forgiving and to learn to give oneself nourishment then rather than withholding love from oneself, learning to release rather than to retain energy, encouraged to move forward rather than to stay entangled in, these poor emotional patterns, and teaches self-acceptance and um soul's realization of its own sacred divinity. So that's a really cool one. And then I'll share with you about Willow, which I love willow trees. They are my favorite trees, which of course makes sense. But I wouldn't have picked this remedy for myself, but somebody else did, and I understand why. But the physical body does not keep flexible. They can be stiff and contracted. And willow, I don't know if you know this, but willow bark is actually what aspirin is made out of, and it's really good for pain. And the remedy willow is also good for pain, which is interesting. So anyway, there's that connection. We use the same things in our modern medicine, but we don't use them we use them in these more crude instead of potentized substances, unfortunately, which are not as great. But yeah, aspirin is made from willow bark. So anyway, willow is about um the soul's connection to bitterness and resentment. So it helps heal that soul's connection to bitterness and resentment. And they can be stiff and contracted, and it helps them, move away from negative emotions. Maybe the person might feel victimized, that life has been unfair to them. People who appear to have more status or, have more than them. The aging process could be very hard for the willow person, unable to flow with the streaming of their lives. Negative feelings can come up. This can result in like stiff joints, rheumatism, arthritis, aches and pains, which is interesting that, like I said, willow bark is in aspirin. So very interesting. Anyway, it helps the soul respond to a greater resilience, move inward, mobility and challenges to problems, and take self more responsibility for its conditions, learn how to flow more gently and graciously than rather than like trying to push against the flow of life, just to flow more with life instead of pushing against life. That's a really good one. Like I said, I wouldn't have picked that one for myself when I read it, but then when I thought about it more, I'm like, I could see how that could be really supportive. And then the other one that I'm taking in a flower essence blend is called Red Chestnut. And this one is the worry and anxiety for others. So this is particularly true in the family system or close relationships, and a parent or spouse is too closely identified as its role of caretaker. They're very enmeshed. There can be imbalances with that, right? And then they turns up as worry and concern that drain that individual's like energy or vital force, right? Especially when they can do little to help the situation. So the soul pulls back in its own sphere of consciousness and can effectively anchor itself and become an agent for real healing. So it helps radiate calm, loving thoughts, unconditional regard for another one, and its greatest healing gift can bestow. So it's that I'm worried about everybody else. This is an older copy of the Flower Essence Repertory from the Flower Essence Society. So I have a very old used copy, but it's a great little book. Anyway, I use it a lot. So I have my own flower essence tree blend. I hope you enjoyed the writing that I did, and I hope you probably learned a little bit more about me and my psyche and what goes on with my life. But here's my own little custom tree blend. This is one I've made for myself. It doesn't have my nice fancy sticker on it because I've just made it for myself, and it's Vanessa tree blend, and I wrote the date so I know when it's going to expire. And to take a flower essence, this has a blend, so it has the oak, the elm, the pine, the willow, and the red chestnut. And you just shake it like this. And that's just like waking up the energy. You put a little bit in the dropper and you put 2 drops under the tongue. And you just let it get absorbed into the mucous membranes. And then you're done. And you've taken your flower essence. And then you hopefully are helping to restore and rebalance emotional challenges. And when you restore and rebalance emotional challenges, you of course affect the physical body, right? The physical body. When we're working on the emotional plane, we're always working on the physical plane as well. So I know I did a separate video in the past about flower essences, so go back and take a listen to that. If you're like, what are flower essences? What is she talking about? Listen to that one so you know what flower essences are. And here now I'm sharing a little bit of my journey with flower essences so you can hear and see that. Um, I I'm definitely noticing more calmness in my body, more love, more just, yeah, less worry actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Some fears have been coming up. I might need to incorporate aspen, which is another flower essence that is good for me also. It's in my protection blend. But yeah, it's interesting to see how those things can shift with these subtle vibrational frequencies, right? Because flower essences are just a vibrational imprint, right? In It's an energetic medicine, it's a vibrational imprint. So anyway, I hope you found this really helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know your questions, comments, concerns. Um, about, well, there wouldn't really be questions, comments, or concerns, but you can ask about me. And yeah, I'm happy to share. And let me know if you're interested in learning more about flower essences, if you want to book in a flower essence consult, and I will make you a custom blend, just like I've made myself a custom blend. I did meet with a practitioner though, to sometimes it's even as a practitioner myself, it's good to have an outside perspective and say, because I wouldn't have picked willow for myself, right? And that's why it's nice to have someone else's subjective opinion about you that can really say like, oh, I think you should try this one. And then it winds up to be really great. So I would also consider that as well when you're picking flower essences. If you want to try some on your own, that's fine. I do recommend Flower Essence Society to buy them from. I think you have to be a practitioner, possibly. I have tons. I've bought my own kits, and now I use those kits to make personal blends for people. So custom flower essence blends. So you can, if you're interested in working with me with flower essences, if you book a homeopathic session on my website, brightlightwellnesscoach.com, a full homeopathic session, I will use flower essences if I think that they are fitting. If you want to just book a flower essence consult, you can do that, and I will make you, I will also send you a custom blend as well. And you can start healing your emotional body and bringing your body back to harmony and balance. So anyway, I'm the tree, and I need to be a little less rigid, a little more soft, and really a little bit more go with the flow. And, the oak can turn into burnout, obviously, because the oak is so stable and strong and so there for everybody else and, all of that. And even the worry of the red chestnut, right? They can turn into olive, which is a good burnout remedy. So it's important for me to help shift those patterns within me so that doesn't happen. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. I will post my little tree writing at the end if you want to read it yourself because I stumbled on some of the words. But have a good day, and I will chat with you guys on the next video.